Greetings, opera lovers. It's Rona from the deck of her home in Pittsburgh. Now that I've finished watching all four of the Met's production of The Ring, I have a few general comments about the whole thing, and then at the end about Götterdämmerung, if there's any time left. So this was the Met's concept of The Ring, and we all know all about the 24 planks and the projections that were placed on them. Starting out with Das Rheingold, which was sort of a spare production, focusing mainly on sort of the emptiness of the space that the gods filled. Then we get to Die Walküre, where it becomes a very personal drama. We see the first three characters introduced, Siegmund Sieglinde and her evil husband, Hunding, and then all the confrontations that follow. And again, it was a personal drama, but by the end, there were beautiful projections which allowed us to see the capabilities of what this set could bring. Then there came Siegfried, where the projections became almost the star of the show, but they couldn't overcome the wonderful singing of J. Hunter Morris, who took on the role of Siegfried, stepping in, as we all know, very much at the last minute. Out of the four operas, this was my favorite, and I am contemplating buying it on the DVD. And then, over the last 2 days, I finally completed the Ring cycle watching Götterdämmerung. I have only seen 3/4 of Götterdämmerung, or I should say 2/3 plus. And so this is my first complete Götterdämmerung. It's never been an opera that I've been particularly anxious to see, but as I wanted to see how the Met finished it up, of course I watched it. And the biggest surprise for me was how great Deborah Voigt was in it. No, it's not my ideal voice, but she threw herself into it, sang magnificently, and was a heroine. I mean, that's the whole point of these operas, as for heroes and heroines, and that's what she was. She was a complete heroine. And in fact, in Götterdämmerung, the singing was so outstanding that I wrote down everybody's name because they all deserve to be mentioned. Starting with the three Norns, three singers I have never heard of: Maria Rodna, Elizabeth Bishop, and Heidi Melton. Fabulous. They did such a great job, and I love the scene. You know, we all know about the Norns weaving the history of the earth. This was beautifully done. Then we had the great treat to hear one of my all-time favorite singers, Waltraud Meyer, do the role of Waltraute. How do you like that? Oh my God, it was heaven on earth. First of all, she's gorgeous. She sang the heck out of the role. It was just a wonderful part. And now I have to go back to my cheat sheet. In another he had a small role in this opera. Eric Owens comes back also as Albrecht. Again, awesome. Just what can you say? It was fabulous. The three Rhine maidens. First of all, I loved their costumes, and I loved the staging of them. And it has one of my very favorite up-and-coming young artists who I hope will someday be a household name. And if she's watching, mwah, Tamara Mumford. I just think you're great. But the other two women with you, Erin Morley and Jennifer Johnson Can, or something like that, I can't read my own handwriting, they were fabulous individually. All three of them were just great. I can't say enough good things about the singing that they did, and I loved their staging. They were just, I mean, this is what great opera is all about. Then we get into the real stars of the opera. The smallest of the starring roles, I would say, is Gutrune, played by Wendy Bryn-Harmer, who I also heard in Das Rheingold singing Freya. She's a very good singer. It's just not the sound of the voice that I love, but she is excellent at what she does. Then there was someone I am embarrassed to say I have never heard of him before who played Gunther. It's something like Ian or Jon Peterson. He's Scotch. Fabulous. I look forward to hearing him live, and I'm going to, because this was a great voice. And he was so good as Gunther that I felt bad when he had to die. That's how good he was. Then we get to Hagen, Hans-Peter Koenig, who we've already heard in 2 other operas. It's a great basso. He's mean and nasty, and he has a big booming voice. And he was also excellent as an actor. Then, of course, there's Siegfried, J. Hunter Morris. I loved him again in this opera. In the very beginning of the opera, I did not like his singing that much, or maybe I just don't like the music that much. But as it went on, it was so great. His whole death scene was fantabulous. I mean, when he recalls the forest bird in that music, I know those are high notes, and he knows them too, but he just rang them out. It was glorious. Then we get to the star of the evening, Brunhilde, Deborah Voigt. First of all, I think she's gorgeous. Those eyes of hers and that wig, the coloring, even that kind of yucko costume, I loved it all. She was great. She sang with such passion and commitment, and it was just fabulous. Even though, as I've said in so many other reviews, I don't think she has the perfect voice for Brunhilde, she was the best in this opera, and she was really, really good. And I think the audience, which gave her a rousing ovation, showed their appropriate appreciation. Now to some minor notes about the production. I loved that horse. I thought it was brilliantly done. The end, which I had seen criticized in so many opera reviews, with the statues of the gods falling and making it seem like it was some kind of cartoony thing, I thought it was very well done. And you know what the best part about the whole production was? It had a one vision. I read in so many reviews things intimating that Robert Lepage didn't even know what the story of it was, didn't know anything about Wagner or The Ring. They're idiots. Of course he knew about The Ring. I mean, it was a simple telling of the story the way Wagner would have wanted it, I assume, from what I know of Wagner, having read many of his works, not the operas, his written works. He knew what he was doing, and he presented it as I think Wagner would have loved to have seen it had he been able to live in the era of high technology. The visuals of Götterdämmerung were interestingly mild, especially as compared to Siegfried, which I saw the day before. The projections on the planks were not as spectacular, although I loved that scene where Siegfried and his horse on the raft ride along the Rhine. Of course, we all wait for the immolation scene and the final scene, but it was brilliantly done. Also, of course, the funeral music. I wait for that. It's one of my favorite pieces of music in all of Wagner, and it was done very, very well. I recently saw most of the production that was taped live from Munich, and although some of the singing was really terrific, overall, this production, hands down, way better. I mean, in every aspect, in concept, costumes, staging. In their Götterdämmerung, I didn't even care when Siegfried died. You should care. I mean, he's the hero who's supposed to save the world, which in a way he kind of does. Okay, I loved everything. Bravo to everyone involved. The highest standard of singing that I've heard. Fabulous playing from the orchestra, conducting. Oh, how could I forget the chorus? They were fabulous too. And special kudos to every single person behind the scenes who were manipulating, however, through a computer or by hand or pushing on those projections. It was a beautiful experience for those of us who were lucky enough to watch. So I'm going to rewatch Siegfried, which I saved on my DVR, and I'm hopefully going to see another one of these live. Bye.